Does the phrase, go suck a lemon, hold any meaning for you? Could we interest you in a subscription to Turtle's Home Companion?
Oh, no!
April sure was mad.
Oh well, you know women.
No, we don't.
Shredder could show up anytime, any place.
Man, Leonardo, you are such a downer.
I do it for the girls and the kids, that's it. The queens and the queers, yeah, they loving my shit. Yeah, shout the fuck out to the girls with the big ass flips. And shout the fuck out to the girls with the big ass dicks.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary cats. Welcome to Simic Turtles, featuring me, your host, Skittles the Witch. I've put together this deck with the intention of being a monster, as per usual. The deck is designed in order to spam out a bunch of turtles and rip through the deck using the one, the only Genesis Wave. Genesis Wave says reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all the cards that weren't revealed this way into the onto the battlefield into your graveyard. So how are we going to get these Genesis Waves set up? Well, Green Ramp has an incredible resource loop in the form of Llanowar Elves. Our goal is going to be to get this down turn 1, piggyback into Fenrir, who's going to let us search out a basic land for mana fixing. And we're going to go ahead and then also use cards like Spelunking in order to make sure that our lands enter in untapped for that extra little reach in our plays. We have Spinner of Souls. As the opponent starts ripping through our creatures, eventually we'll be able to replace them with better ones, given the Spinner of Souls lets us take a death trigger into searching for a random creature. We also have a single copy of Enduring Vitality, because it will come in handy in order to set up future Genesis Wave plays. What we do next is we have the Bedrock Tortoise. Now this is our first turtle of the deck, and what it does is during your turn, creatures you control have hexproof. And it says each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So this creature right here will protect our turtles, and it's also going to make sure that we are golden as far as our attack stat. We also have an additional form of mana ramp, which is amazing because we have Overlord of the Hauntwoods. This is a classic piece of green ramp here that we can play either pretty early on in the game or late game for a big attacking creature. And what makes this card great is you can play it as an enchantment with Impending 4 in order to play it early for a cheaper cost. But when it enters and when it attacks, we made a tapped colorless land token named Everywhere that is every basic land type, which is kind of fun. Then I have the Fecund Green Shell. This is where the magic happens. So Fecund Green Shell is a nice beefy 4/6 creature with reach, and as long as you control 10 or more lands, creatures you control get +2/+2. And it also says, whenever this creature or another creature you control with toughness greater than its power enters, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So this will let us draw through a deck and grab lots of mana to be using. And it works very, very well in conjunction with Spelunking, who says that lands you control enter untapped. We also have a single copy here of Serakin Goreclaw, who has Trample, and says other creatures you control have Trample. It also says whenever another non-token creature you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on it, it gains haste until the end of the turn. So we're hoping to pull this guy out of the deck when we play our Genesis Waves and then attack with everything immediately. And it works a lot more frequently than I would imagine myself. Last but not least, as far as turtles goes, we have a dual powerhouse in Pride of the Hulkblade and Ancient Adamantoise. So Pride of the Hulkblade is an awesome card because while it costs 11 mana to cast, it actually costs less to cast depending on how the total toughness of your creatures looks like. So if you have a lot of creatures with high toughness, you wind up in a really cool situation where you can often cast this card for a single green mana, and at 2 power 15 toughness, boosted by the Bedrock Tortoise, this becomes a 15/15 creature, which is absolutely horrifying. To make matters worse, we have Ancient Adamantoise. This is a big old turtle with 8 power and 20 toughness. It's got Vigilance and Ward 3, meaning it's very hard to remove from the field. And it says, damage isn't removed from this creature during cleanup steps. Now you might be thinking, why would this guy have such a lower kind of negative side effect, right? Surely he's not that good for his costs and his stats. Well, it also says all damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control is dealt to this creature instead. And it also says when this creature dies, exile it and create 10 tapped treasure tokens. So what we're doing here with the Ninja Turtles is we have to set up a situation where the opponent can't possibly block us enough. And in order to do that, we have the Ninja Turtles' cool girlfriend, whose name I have forgotten since the 90s. But Yasholto rule in here sets up a situation where at the beginning of the end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Then, if it's the first end step of the turn, there is an additional end step after this step. So if we look back at the creatures we've put on the field, Yasholta actually helps us in a variety of ways. The first and most deadly is we can take our Ancient Adamantoise and reset the damage on it because it's left the field. Meaning no matter how much damage the opponent throws at us, if they don't one-shot Ancient Adamantoise, he will just simply reset and come back anyways, removing the negative ability from him. We also can do things like resetting our Fenrirs so that they never ever kill themselves at the end of the saga. And every time they enter, often twice per turn, we'll be able to search out another forest. And that, my friends, is Simic Turtles in all of its Ninja Turtle-y goodness. Without further ado, let's get into the games. Alright, let's take a look at what we got here in our opening hand. We have Ancient Adamantoise, Fecund Green Shell, Bedrock Tortoise, Spelunking, and 3 mana that all empower mana fixing. I think we might be in good shape. So I'm going to drop my first land here to make sure that we have mana fixing set up. It is the land that enters with 2 or less mana. I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Now, the challenge in a turtle deck like this one is if we're not careful, we do end up with some slower starts. I'm going to hit our 3rd land, though, and send out our Fenrir. Summon Fenrir is going to go ahead and grab us even more mana fixing with a regular blue island. I love this land. Don't ask me why, I'll tell you later. What we're going to do next is watch the opponent come in and try to get rid of our creatures. So they've wasted their removal on a Fenrir that's just going to destroy itself. It was always meant to kind of be a throwaway card after it hits the field, but now we're going to slap back with a giant tortoise who's going to get Fenrir's 1/1 counter. Now, this is going to set up this tortoise to be an immediate threat on turn 4, given it will eventually, when it attacks, use its power in order to make sure we're ahead of the curve. So next up, we're going to go ahead and play our land for turn. Send out the Fecund Green Shell, who on entry is going to let us look at the top card of our deck, and if it's a land, we play it. If it's a creature, we put it into our hand. Then I'm going to come in with the Bedrock Tortoise and force an attack so that they have to figure out whether they're losing their Vincent Valentine or not. I love Vincent. That's my vampire boy. He's not actually a vampire. He's a monster. Alright, so it looks like they're entering with the Albed Savagers. salvagers. And what's gonna happen here is they're passing back to us because they're walled out of the game. So I'm gonna play our land for turn. Then I'm gonna go ahead and play Spelunking here, which is gonna let us draw a card, play that card, and then make sure all of our lands enter tapped. Next up, I'll pop in a Llanowar Elves. My pretty elf lesbians and their bisexual himbo boyfriend are gonna sit here on the field and give us extra mana for turn. I think what we'll do is we'll wait. Since we've walled them out attack-wise, I want to maintain as many creatures on the field as possible. As soon as we hit our Genesis wave, what's gonna happen is having a lot of creatures on the field will actually help. So it seems as if Sephiroth is their plan here. Wiping all of our early game creatures off the board. I'll miss the Llanowar Elves. I'm gonna go for 1 block with Bedrock Tortoise and let them think they've done enough damage with the Gallian Beast. But unfortunately for them, it is time for more shenanigans, so I'm gonna pop down Ancient Adamantoise onto the field, which is gonna trigger our Fecund Greenshell and let us get another Spelunking for hand. Now this time, we're gonna go all out, because all damage from this point onward is gonna hit our Ancient Adamantoise, and just like that, knowing what's about to happen, the opponent scoops. Alright, so let's take a look at our opening hand. This is the optimal hand for a deck like this. When you open Llanowar Elves and Fenrir, you are in for a treat, so I'm gonna keep it. I don't think we'll be doing any mulligan today. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna play my forest, and I'm gonna put my pretty elf lesbians on the field. And then let's see how the opponent responds. Looks like they have a Nomad Outpost. I have a sneaking suspicion we're up against a mobilized deck. So, next up, we're going to take care of our mana fixing with Yavimaya Coast. And I'm going to go for that turn 2 Fenrir. This is my favorite way to mana ramp in this deck because it's going to let us get our single copy of an island. After that, what's going to happen here is anyone's guess. But at this point, our Fenrir is sitting here as more or less a throwaway creature. That said, if they don't have a plan for it soon, it's going to turn into some mid-game draw. So I'm going to play my forest for turn, and we're going to pop right into the Fecund Greenshell, who on entry is going to let us look at the top card of our deck. It's a land, so we get to play it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attack with Fenrir to put some early game pressure on the opponent. The opponent is going to have to decide whether they want to block this damage and lose their Shocking Sharpshooter or figure out another way. Shocking Sharpshooter is really good because when another creature you control enters, it deals 1 damage to the target opponent. And their whole deck is all about doing micro damage like that. But that's going to be the interesting test here. Can we take on something hyper-competitive like a mobilized deck with this little goofied one we put together? So I'm going to play our land for turn. I'm going to go ahead and summon Overlord of the Hauntwoods to get even more mana. I'm going to play a second Llanowar Elves because I love that card so much. Our Fecund Greenshell has a reach, which happens to be very helpful for situations like this, where the opponents are running flying or anything else gross. I'm tempted to attack, but I also want to be very careful that we have something to block with. I think for now, though, we're okay, so I'm going to run that first attack to get them closer to death. Afterwards, it looks like the opponent is playing a bunch of different cards, but this is a surprise. I do like seeing that they're running Sephiroth in their mobilized deck because that is a very different way to play it, but also very smart given these creatures are exiled at the end of turn. I'm going to go ahead and take our Hauntwoods and we'll block, taking a little bit of damage from the Lancer, but not enough. Sephiroth will ping us for another round of damage, but we are golden. I'm going to drop the land for turn. We're going to hit our first win con, Ancient Adamantoise, triggers the Fecund Greenshell to draw again. And at this point, we can just go ham with everybody because all that damage will get funneled into the Ancient Adamantoise, making it really, really hard for the opponent to kill our creatures without removal. And so now, no matter what they build up, they're going to be in trouble. So the opponent, realizing their fate, is looking to block, thinking that they're going to be alright, or at the very least slow down the damage, but they leave themselves wide open to our bigger creatures, which I think is a pretty unfortunate misplay for them. That said, you never know, there could be some surprises in this deck. Ozurtok being a creature that enters is pretty scary, because now they're going to get triple the tokens. And that could end up pinging us for a lot of damage a lot more quickly than it might seem. So the opponent is going to attack and try to rush us for some damage. All of that damage is just getting directly funneled into the Ancient Adamantoise, who is now about 3/4 of the way done. On the death trigger, Sephiroth is going to hit us again. I guess Sephiroth can't hit our life directly. Maybe it's just combat damage. Okay, so next up, we're gonna look at our opponent, we're gonna say, hey, I love you, but time to give our creatures hexproof. Now this is gonna completely change the game here. Not only do we get a Fecund Greenshell trigger, but we also get a second Ancient Adamantoise on the field, who's gonna trigger Fecund Greenshell again. As you can see, our lands are slowly filling up a lot faster than I think the opponent would like. But now during our turn, all of our creatures have hexproof and massive attack stats equal to their defenses. So the opponent said good game. We're gonna give it back to them here and see exactly what they plan to do to stop this, because I think they realize they've been sunk. So it looks like they are preparing to block to see if they can turn it around, which is kind of exciting. But with two Ancient Adamantoise on the field, I think they recognize they're sunk. Alright, let's take a look at our opening hand. I do like this hand. I think it's going to be a little slower of an opening, but I think we can make it work. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to fix our mana with the Willow Rush Verge. And then they're going to play Otters. So it looks like we're playing some form of Otter deck, which is fun. Otters are pretty scary. Alright, they are doing mana fixing of their own with Islands and Mountains. I'm curious if this is going to be more of a regular Otters, or if we'll see Vivi included, given how amazing he is. Highway Robbery is the next move, so it looks like they're digging a little bit. They're trying to get some draw going. Okay, very nice, very nice. They'll attack us for a nice little opening. And for our turn, I'm going to lay down a forest. I'm going to hit our Spelunking here, which is going to let us draw a card, and then play a land for turn. All of our lands enter untapped now because of Spelunking, so this will give us a little bit of an edge as we start to put lands on the field. And in a good experience can really actually extend the amount of plays we're able to land down on a turn. So, next up, we're going to hit our forest, and I'm going to go for a fully ready Overlord of the Hauntwoods. This is going to place an immediate threat on the board at 5/6 that they'll have to deal with, but it's also going to get us these Doors to Everywhere, which are amazing because they add 1 mana of any color. And as long as we can keep the momentum going, and they don't deal with our Overlord of Hauntwoods right away, it's not just on entry, but also when that creature attacks. Meaning we're going to make sure that we really get the most out of our mana value as we ramp. Unfortunately for them, having drawn the Ancient Adamantoise, we're going to actually protect our Overlord, assuming we can get it out onto the field fast enough. But we will see exactly what the opponent is going to do here. Looks like they're tapping for some mana, biding their time, waiting for the timer to run out. I think the next thing they're going to do here is hit that Suplex. I love the Suplex card. Next up, they're going to run a Pyroclasm as their removal. So very smart. They knew they had to get rid of that guy. Unfortunately for them, the damage has already been done, because I'm going to set down our Willow Rush Verge, and I'm going to go immediately into the Fecund Greenshell. This on entry is going to let us draw a card, which we will play right away in the form of Llanowar Elves. And then we get to play the waiting game, see what the opponent has. They may have more removal, and that's okay. One of the things that I love about this deck very, very much is as long as you get it moving fast enough, it's able to actually deal with a lot of removal and put the opponent in situations where they have to be very careful about what they're picking off and what they're not picking off. If they don't have any removal this turn or any giant threats to put down to remove our creatures right away, what will inevitably happen here is we're going to be able to play the Bedrock Tortoise and make sure we're golden. But I also think we're going to actually start with the Ancient Adamantoise, given that their removal of choice is to try to burn us for damage. This is also going to leave us the leftover mana for another Land of War Elves, and a nice hefty attack from the Fecund Green Shell to get the damage started on them. So next up, the opponent is gonna start their turn. They're gonna play some more mana fixing. It looks like they're running a really interesting mix of blue, red, and green mana, which is kind of exciting. I'm very curious to see what kind of stronger creatures they might be playing. I don't know that there's anything in particular that scares me just yet. I think we probably have this one in the bag, but somehow turning the Elusive Otter into a 5/5 is pretty scary. It looks like they used the Adventure Sorcery effect to do that, which is okay. What we're gonna do next is pretty evil. I think we gotta, right? We're gonna go for a Genesis Wave, and I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana that we can dump into this, meaning we're going to get the top 7 cards off of our deck and just immediately play them. Because of Spelunking, all the lands we grab with Genesis Wave come in untapped, and that's going to let us have just enough mana for the Bedrock Tortoise. On trigger, we're also getting one off the Fecund Green Shell, and they accept their fate at this point, and that's the match. Well, there you have it. The Ninja Turtles are back in action. They're hip, they're happening, they're a lot of fun. Give them a try if you want to at home, so you can use turtle power to obliterate your opponents. I've been your host, Skittles the Witch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.